This is Zurich Chess Challenge 2014. It's currently being played in Zurich, Switzerland. This is the highest average rated tournament in the history of chess. Average rating 2801, a category 23. Incredible. The lineup: Carl Nakamura, my buddy from the United States. Magnus Carlsen from Norway, new world champion. Vishy Anand, former world champion from India. Fabiano Caruana, representing the Italian Federation. Levin Aronian, number 2 in the world, representing Armenia. And Boris Gelfand from Israel, former world championship challenger. What a great lineup, what a great tournament. Don't miss any of these games. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again with another great chess video for you. We're going to continue with the highest rated tournament in the history of chess, the Zurich Chess Challenge 2014. This is round 4. As white, the new world champion Magnus Carlsen, and black, Fabiano Caruana. I'll tell you, after that hell of a game in round 3, I don't know how we can top that, but we're going to see how this goes. It's going to be another Berlin, but these Berlins are all different. It's funny. Kramnik said one time, he told Nigel Short, Kramnik did, that his work on the Berlin is trying to stop everybody from playing e4. it might end up being true. Bishop b5, d3. Bishop takes, d takes, h3. Seen this a couple thousand times. Knight comes back. I'm not familiar with the Berlin. I'm assuming there's just so many different variations of the Berlin for black that black calls the shots, and that's why I think a lot of white players don't like it. They want white. They want to call what the opening's going to be. Bishop comes back. Knight c5, castles. Knight f8. Interesting move, but he wants to get the light squared bishop out. Knight d2. Knight g6. That's a good spot for that knight. It guards this really important square here of f4. Knight c4, hitting the bishop. Knight d2, finally getting that piece out. Queen, knight takes, pawn takes, reconnecting his pawns. f4. Goes f4 anyway. He's got the knight on e2, the bishop on e3, and the rook on f1. All pounded on that f4 square. E takes, knight takes, rook takes. He wants the rook to take, as eventually he wants to swing the other rook around here, I would assume. b6. Computer has suggested that castles might be looked at as a better move. 6 one half dozen one another. Queen h5, d5, d4, c4. Push that pawn right by. b3. If you had gone e5 instead, those of you that want to lock up the position after queen to a4, b3, pawn takes, queen to d7. Comes out about the same. After b3, queen to c6, rook 8 f1. Now, this bishop right here is, for all intents and purposes right now, a gigantic pawn. And I heard somebody say once, that's a bad bishop. But it's a bad bishop guarding a very good pawn. So, castle's long. D takes isn't that good because after rook, castles, rook takes g7, black's just is doomed. B takes, queen takes. Those of you who wanted to take the pawn again after d5, of course, loses a piece. Rook takes, bishop takes, rook takes. You see a lot of this, especially at top level play, where you see a lot of exchange sacrifices. And he's got a bishop and a pawn for the rook. Those of you that are wondering instead if queen took, Queen to c7. It's a 3/4 advantage of a pawn for black. After rook takes, rook to d7. Now those of you that were wondering what would have happened if queen had taken that pawn. Queen f5 check, king b8, queen e5, king a8, queen c7, queen b1 check, king, queen, has to sacrifice the queen, and of course we all know it's the end after that. So that free pawn wasn't so free. Rook to d7, offering the exchange of rooks. Rook takes, king takes. That black king is pretty exposed. We're going to have to see how this works out. E takes, g6, hitting the queen. After g6, queen checks, king comes over, queen to e6. Those double pawns actually are pretty good. They're going right down black's throat, right down the middle, and harassing that king very much. King to b7, queen checks. Worth looking at might have been f6, and after queen to c3, bishop back. After queen to e7, offers a trade of queens. Carlsen says no thank you. Queen to e4, rook to queen to d7, d6 check. Black has got to be careful of this the first advanced d pawn. King to a6, bishop f4, rook to c8. What to do, what to do? He's trying to get some counterplay. King to h2 just to get out of the back rank, and rook to c4. He's going after some pawns here. If black had played g5 instead to distract the bishop, bishop just comes back to g3. Bishop goes to g3 anyway for Magnus. Rook c8. Right now it's about a pawn advantage for white. He's got a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook. After queen to d3 check, king comes back, c4. He's got this bishop guarding this lead pawn. Now he's going to start bringing his other pawns into the game. Queen to c6, queen to b3, king a8 to get out of the line to fire off the b file. The queen had gone to e4 instead. a4, rook f8, c5, with a big advantage for white over 2 pawns. It's about the same now, but I like the scenario with the king safety better. a4, and this is where Caruana, I believe, stumbles. Now, I'm not sure if there was time pressure. There might have been. We're on move 37. The top 2 suggestions for the computer are queen to d7 and king to b7. Now it's switching over to rook to f8. Queen to d7 is probably the move that I would make. He goes rook to e8. Double question mark. a5. Great move. A decoy move. If bishop takes, queen, and that's it. Black's doomed. After king to b7, c5, king to c8. Look at these pawns come down. A takes, d5, hitting the queen. Amazing stuff. Look at this position. Black's just getting smothered. Queen takes, queen to a4. I mean, poor Caruana, he's just getting creamed. Rook to e3, queen to a8 check, king to d7, queen to b7 check. That dark squared bishop is just, he might as well just give up his rook to get rid of it. King to e8, d7 check, king to d8, bishop checks. Now the bishop comes into play after guarding the pawn to come after the king. Rook to e7, And the final shot is check. And this is where Fabiano Caruana resigns after queen takes, pawn takes, king takes, bishop takes, and black's down a full piece. Magnus got lucky against Nakamura, but that's okay. Luck counts too. Anyway, folks, that's the game from round 4. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. And I want to thank all my new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.